All right. Let me finish my story time and see how long this will record because I do need to delete videos and stuff on my phone to finish the video. But like I said, a lot of them they just want to sleep with the girls and see where their head is and shit. So when they were calling names off names and shit, like they called my name and I was shocked. I was like, oh shit, my name got called because I was embarrassed. I hid behind another girl, and then they was like, I think I was next to like one of the last two to get called, and one name was called. I was like, damn, I actually got hired for the job, but yeah, I slipped and I my confidence slipped, and I said, yeah, I'm not getting this job, but I wanted to get hired. My very first night that I worked, I made over like I want to say 1,500 or no, not 15, even 1,500. I went home and said a prayer that I would make 1,500. And I went home, I think after tipping out and paying house fees and all that shit, I think I went home with like a good five five stacks. Lie to you not. It was over 5 stacks. And I put all that in the bank, and then like I did my interview for the medical assistant job. I got the job. So I was, working as a dancer part time and working as a medical assistant full time. And I still was in school trying to do an undergrad program, and I was doing it online. Like I got like so much respect because people saying that I had challenges going on in my personal life, but I was still in school and I still was working a day job, and I used that, money at night I was making as extra income. So overall, I was able to save up enough to get my own spot because I think I was living at that time in like a little, I don't know. I was renting out a room. I found on Craigslist, and after a while, I just started saving my money and said, "I gotta get the fuck up out of this little living situation," because they starting to fuck with me over here, and it was getting on my nerve. I'm like, I don't understand how people can try to make your life hard because they're hating and they're hearing shit about you. So wherever I was living, it was illegal, like living arrangement, but I didn't care because I need somewhere to stay. So I made the best of that, stacked my money, and I was able to get to a better living situation. But I wasn't, 18 yet to even lease my own, apartment. But I had a cousin who helped me out, and I was able to, you know, get my own apartment. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to, go into all that because if we talk about that, people be like, that's illegal. You can't be doing that. That's illegal. It's a lot of things illegal that they were doing. So I think certain things was kept hush, but they wanted to see if I was going to keep up with my lease and apartment and all that. So I was renting out my own space and all that. I had enough to get a car. I got a car, um, and I was doing my program through a, a government program in Atlanta, Georgia. So just along the way, like I met people, and networked with people that did help me out. So I got, a lot further. And then just other stuff like, the men and women that came into these gentlemen clubs, and then a lot of the celebrities that would come into the gentleman club down there. Like I never been hyped over no celebrity. I never been pressed to, be around people with status, even though I enjoy being around people with status, and them are my type of people to be around. I still to this day enjoy being around people of status and just, learning shit from people. But I'm not groupie to be around nobody. I always went in there like I needed my coins. I need money. I'm not worried about you. The only thing I'm gonna do is fake it for you because you're faking it for me. And really, I'm trying to get that money out of your hand that you got because I got bills to pay. So, as you know, around this time, I'm already a mom. I already didn't have my kids. I'm a mom of, I believe, three children at that time. Yeah, it was three. I'm not gonna say I believe, but three children at that time. So I'm grinding all types of hard, and on top of that, my children was also, with me through that process, and then my grandmother, my real grandmother, who is still here, she took on the guardianship and custody of my kids at the time, because I'm like, I'm not leaving my kids with nobody up in Maryland. I don't, deal with nobody on that side of my family. Like, I don't trust them raising my kids. So I said, wherever I'm going, my children are going with me, because I'm like, it wasn't even a plan for me to be a mom at a young age, but I still did what I was supposed to do as a mom. So yeah, I was grinding, and then I had my own place and I had my kids, and that also helped me, get my place, because I had children. So that the fear of what was going on in the government at that time, to cover up that shit, they was like, oh, thank God, she got kids, she's a mom, we could blame it on she got kids, and try to cover up whatever we did, because they was like, oh my God, we about to go to anyway. So yeah, that, I think that would probably, I would put that together as like my first experience of being a stripper or a dancer. I moved on from that by the grace of God. I got the support that I needed to get into the profession that I am. But I will never knock no female that's out here doing what she gotta do to pay her bills and take care of her kids and her family. Cause good came of it for me. I made good money in doing that. But it's not that I'm glorifying that. But let's be honest, that paid for a lot of my tuition and school balances and shit. Like me being a dancer, they got me through. I was stripping through medical school. I was doing what I had to do to make money to go get through school. So a lot of students where I was at, some of them knew my business, some of them didn't. They just hearing word of mouth and shit. And it was through a teacher at that college. I did an online program, then I did an in person program by the time I was doing medical school. So he was, he ran his mouth because he came into my place of employment, and shit. And he was like, "Oh yeah, one of these students work at da da da." I said, "So the fact, why you tell everybody my?" But anyway, onto that, like that paid my balance. Like I had balances and charges on my account that my medical assistant job didn't cover. But you going to a strip club, you can make money night by night depending on how hard you work. Like I was making money every night and cashing out one to the bank. So I had more than enough to get me through medical school. So I don't knock nobody who do what they gotta do to make their money to take care of themselves. Like I respect it, but it's something that I moved on from. And by the grace of God, God moved me. And when I did it, it's a degrading thing, but it helped me get the money and stuff that I need for school. So yeah, that ends my, I want to say, my story time about my first time as a stripper and my experience of what I had did to help myself when I was like a underage girl just trying to live and take care of myself. But remind you also, I was a doctor. I was licensed and registered as a doctor before the age of 18. I finished school that early. Well, really, no. By the age of 18, I was already probably earlier than that, because they were lying so much, covering up my true power, my identity, and just you know. So probably earlier than that, if you go looking a real background federal government check at my life, like if you do a whole thorough investigation on me and my identity and what the fuck I've been through, and my education that people try to hide, they'll probably be like, this girl was already a freaking doctor at 16. So I believe I was earlier than 18, a registered doctor, classified as a medical doctor. So it was just more so people work together to cover up and hide documents and proof and truth. So I had to go through other means to get what the fuck I needed, and I did what I needed to be done. Um, yeah, so this basically concludes my overall experience as a dancer. I think with my story time as a dancer, I think that what I'm gonna do is post my other video first. That's 18 minutes, and then I'm gonna post this video onto my YouTube after this. But this is gonna be like the part two to the part one of my story time about how I got caught up being a stripper. Uh, y'all have a great day. Enjoy y'all day. Like drink y'all water. meditate, pray, and love somebody. I will talk to y'all in another video. Bye.